You see the
Okay. I forgot something. I'm leaving and I'll be back. Y'all stay put. I mean, literally, stay put. There you are. All right, we'll come to order. Good afternoon. We're ready for some more questioning. State will go first.
Welcome back. A couple of issues to talk with you about that we were going to take up just individually, okay? I think the topics we've got to talk about, you said that you've heard about the case in the media, at least somewhat. We're going to talk about that. And then also, I believe you stated that some family members or somebody had shared their opinions with you at some point. Okay. First of all, as far as hearing about the case in the media, can you just tell us a little bit about where you heard information about it, when that was, as best you can remember?
Yes, it was probably about a couple days before.
Judge, if I could ask either the witness to speak up a little bit, or it might help if she was on this end of the jury box.
If you don't mind moving down to the side, and maybe right about there, maybe where you started off.
Familiar seat?
You come full circle.
Thank you.
So I think were you saying that a couple days before we came to court here, or a couple days before something? Okay. And was that the first time you'd heard anything about the case? Okay. And where did you hear about it? TV, newspaper, radio, or something different? Internet. Okay. And where on the internet? Google? Okay. And did you Google something to find out about it, or? Okay. All right. And what, if anything, did you learn about the case, or did you read about?
I just saw a picture of the baby.
Okay. Hello. Okay. So I believe all you said, you saw a picture of the baby or the child. Okay. Other than that, did you read any details about the case or anything like that?
No, it was like a little box. It had the pictures and said Atlanta case man that left baby in the car.
Okay. Have you learned, or do you know of any other details or allegations in this case whatsoever? So I assume that little bit that you've heard, well, you haven't even really heard anything, but seen a picture. Is there anything about that would affect your ability to be fair to both sides? Okay. You said something about family members sharing opinions with you. Okay. When was that family members shared opinions with you?
When I saw it.
Okay. And which, you don't even give their names, but what?
My mother, she actually heard about the case. So she seen it just like I did.
Okay.
Probably somewhere at work or wherever she saw it. And probably about last month, I had a transfer that I got missing.
Okay.
And,
You had a what, was it? I'm sorry? You had a what that was missing?
a
Okay.
And she was like, well, I think that this may be the case that I might have located.
Okay. And did she share with you any details about the case or anything like that?
She didn't know anything. She had heard it probably too.
Okay. And did she give you any opinions or her opinion about whether the defendant had done something or not or anything of that nature? Okay. So basically, it's just a family member said that they'd heard about the case. Okay. Anything about that would affect your ability to give both sides a fair trial? Okay. I think that's all the questions I have. Oh, hold on one second. Oh, yeah. Okay. I forgot. I had that start, and I thought it was something else. You'd also said something that you had an experience with law enforcement or something that you wanted to talk about without everybody else around. I don't know if this is really without everybody else around, but without the other jurors. Can you talk to us a little bit about that now? What that circumstance is?
Can I get about it? Did someone? It's not really. It was probably a couple of years ago, but I was right around the corner.
Okay.
And I was pulled over.
We can't hear. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. She was right around the corner from here and pulled over by an officer. Then what happened?
And I was at the stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he assumed that it was a house next to me that had a lot of men outside. And
Yes,
stuff
ma'am.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he assumed that I was there, but my uncle lives
Right next door, right around the corner.
right
Yeah,
around the corner.
yeah.
Getting ready to turn, I just seen his lights in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulled me over and he asked, he asked to search my car and all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ended up calling back up.
Mm-hmm.
Like half of Glen County Police came out.
Right.
And as soon as someone got there, they said, "Why did you pull her over? That's Police Green's daughter."
Mm-hmm.
And after that,
Yeah.
so
Well.
it was after that because of course he knew me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, first of all, I'm not a resident of Glen County, but I'm sorry that you had to experience that. Okay. Just going a little further with that, is there anything about that experience that would cause you or give you any problem being fair to the state or the defense in this case? Okay. I'm sorry we had to talk about it, but I appreciate you talking about it with us in this setting, okay? Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon. So this whatever you saw on Google that popped up, did you just like read the headline, or did you? Okay, so you didn't open a story and read a story. Okay. Did you see any images of any of us here in the courtroom? Do you recognize any of us from seeing us on Google? Okay. Not Mr. Harris.
Mr. Harris, it was him. It was a picture of him, and then a picture of him and the baby right next to it.
Okay.
And it said Atlanta, Glen,
Okay. And what was the picture of he and the baby together?
It was one picture of him and then one picture of him and the baby.
Okay. One of just Mr. Harris and then one of Mr. Harris with his child. All right. And you think that's pretty much all that you remember seeing? Okay. And is the reason you remember it because of the subsequent conversation with your mom?
No, she said it after I saw that.
Right. And then y'all talked about it?
Yeah, she just said, because I missed the jury, and she said, I think you may end up, it might be a case of the man for the last.
All right. You say you missed the jury?
The last.
Okay.
August.
All right. So you were supposed to serve in August?
Yeah, they sent my letters to Ron. I wasn't at the address anymore.
Okay. So lucky you. This is your makeup jury week. Okay. Congratulations. All right. And since then, have you seen or heard anything else on the news? All right. I'm going to follow up with just one or two other things real quickly. when yesterday I asked if you had family members or close friends who had expressed an opinion to you about whether or not Mr. Harris was guilty. You did raise your hand. Do you remember who it was you were thinking about that had expressed an opinion to you?
It was
Someone
someone in Camden County.
in Camden County? Who was that person?
It was a friend. She was about 19. So, anything. She was probably on, like, Snapchat or whatever, just like me.
Okay. All right. Do you remember when this conversation was? Okay. And did the conversation come up because you told her you had jury duty?
Yeah.
All right.
But I didn't even know at that time that it was for this. I didn't know about this at that time when she told me that. When I told her I had a jury.
And she just wanted to tell you what she thought about the case, give you sort of her opinion.
No, she didn't give me any opinion. She was just saying she saw a headline too.
Oh, okay.
On Snapchat.
All right. Now, was that the totality of the conversation?
Yeah. Because we read all the headlines and stuff. Like if it comes up on Snapchat.
Right.
We'll read it.
Okay. Is there anything that we haven't asked you about that you think that we should know which might have bearing on whether or not you could be a fair and impartial jury in this case?
I made a mistake about my father's, when he resigned, it was 2 years ago.
Okay.
I was away at college at the time, so I really wasn't aware of what to do. But this got a job right after that, so he actually retired 2 years ago.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you clarifying that for us. Do you believe that his position as former police chief, you believe that that would have any bearing on your ability to be a fair and impartial juror for either side? Okay. You think you can be fair and impartial? Okay. Thank you. She nodded and said yes. Thank you.
Are you done?
Nothing further, Judge.
All right. We're going to excuse you until October the 3rd. Yes, a long way down the road, but we're going to have you come back then at 9 in the morning to the courthouse, to the jury assembly room. In the meantime, keep an open mind. Don't talk to other jurors about this case, nor let them speak with you about it. Don't talk to other people or let other people talk to you about the case. No contact with attorneys, parties, witnesses to the case. No Google, no nothing. Anything that you can think of that I haven't mentioned, don't do that. I want you to create like a bubble, or put yourself in bubble wrap about this case, and don't let anything about it get near you. Okay? And then you have a good couple of weeks, and we'll see you shortly. Thank you. And then if we can have juror 3. According to my notes, there's only one person that we're not going to talk to individually, and that's 11. Did you all expect also to talk to 11?
Yes, Your Honor, and I think after her discussion this morning, I think we'll be able to settle that as well.
I just wanted to be sure. Yes, please. Thank you. If you don't mind going, like the bell said, further down, the acoustics are sometimes a little tricky for people on the other side of the room.
So this is the mic?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. First the state, then the defendant will have follow-up questions for you.
Okay. I believe we just have one subject to discuss with you in private. Basically, just the subject of media, what you've heard about the media. You said you've heard something about the case. So I'm going to ask you just initially when it was you've heard something about this case, and just generally where you heard it, like a TV station, a newspaper, internet, something like that.
No. The first day I met a friend in the lobby, and I forget how it came up, but she said, oh, it's the case from Cobb County about the baby in the car. That was what I heard.
Okay, so your exposure, having heard about the case, you did not hear anything about this case until the day you came in?
Correct.
Okay, and you were talking to a friend in the lobby here in the courthouse?
Very briefly.
Okay. And was your friend, was it somebody else that was called in for jury service, somebody that works here?
Yes, but I'm not sure what her number was, and it's, one of those larger numbers.
Okay. All right. And when you spoke with her, did she tell you, specifically you said it was about a child left in the car? I don't want to put words in your mouth. But did she give you any other details about the case, or did you learn any other details about the case? Okay. Is there any way that would affect your ability to only consider the evidence in the law that comes out in the courtroom?
Well, after sitting here for 2 days and listening to the questions, start putting together the things that the attorneys have said, and being a mom, I don't think there is any excuse for having left a child, unattended.
Okay.
Long enough where, if it's a murder case, obviously this child died, and there is no excuse for that.
Okay. Now, I understand, starting with, we can't just excuse all mothers in the cases like this. I understand what you're telling us. But you haven't heard any evidence or anything like that about the circumstances of what happened the day of the incident. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So when determining what, if anything, had happened in this case, and whether those facts meet certain criminal charges, would you be able to sit in this courtroom and make a decision based solely on the evidence in this courtroom and the law that the judge gives you? Basically what the facts are and what the law is that the facts apply to it. Would you be able to do that?
No, not now.
Okay. And can you just explain to me a little bit about why would you not be able to do that?
Well, based on my personal experience,
Okay.
there's no way. In my heart, I feel there's just no way that you could do this. If you did, that's murder.
Okay. I believe that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Mr. Coble.
Hey, good afternoon. I just want to make sure at the very beginning the judge had asked a few questions before we started asking questions, and one of the questions that she asked was whether have you for any reason formed and expressed an opinion in regard to the guilt or innocence of the accused. And you didn't raise your hand to that question,
That's correct.
But if I understand what you're telling us now is after sitting around, sort of hearing through our questions, you've pieced together a little more about what the case is about. You have now formed an opinion.
That's correct.
Okay, and you're telling us that opinion is apparently pretty fixed, and you're not going to be changing your mind.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your honesty. Thank you.
All right. We will need you to return on October 3rd at 9 in the morning for the jury selection process. So we're liberating you at this point. Now, keep an open mind. Don't discuss this matter with others. Don't let anyone talk to you about the case. Don't talk to other jurors about it. No contact with attorneys, parties, or witnesses to the case. Stay away from any exposure to any media coverage or any external information that may be out there about the case. Anything that you creatively think about that you could go to explore anything, don't do that about this case. It's to be absolutely off limits. And I hope you have a pleasant rest of the day. Thank you, ma'am. And we'll see you October 3rd, 9 a.m. Okay. I think we're ready for juror 4. Kind of keep going, keep going. That's the good chair. Yep. It's the one where most of us can hear you very well. Proceed, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Okay. I think we just have 2 issues to take up with you, just following up on our conversation. I guess that was yesterday, right? Okay. First of all, there was a question asked about people and whether they have heard about this case either through the media or third parties or anything like that. So just tell us a little bit, first of all, about what you've heard and where you heard it.
Mainly it was using Facebook, just the big outbreak. I didn't hear about this case specifically.
Oh, okay.
Just big outrage, checking vehicles. That's basically where I've heard everything.
Okay.
Because of Facebook.
Okay.
Probably about a year and a half ago.
Okay. So this is something, it's not specific. Have you heard or read anywhere any of the specific facts of this case, or do you know any of the facts aside from what you've heard here?
Yes.
Okay. Not anything about like what the defendant, what was happening that day, or where he works, or anything of that nature. Okay. So from what you've read on Facebook, is there anything regarding what you've read that would somehow impact your ability to be fair to both sides?
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right, you said you don't believe so, just to make sure there's
No,
nothing out there lingering, right?
No,
Okay.
nothing at all. Like I said, everything that I read was a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So nothing's really stuck.
All right.
I said I wasn't this case. I heard something about a mother leaving her child in a vehicle.
Okay.
That's pretty much all I heard about.
Okay. And I think the only other issue we had is there was something we want to talk about in private regarding an experience with law enforcement.
Yes. Whenever I was maybe 19, late 19, I was pulled over for a headlight violation in a well-lit area. I can understand being pulled over. Well, I had 3 individuals in my vehicle. 2 were very good friends, and 1 was a female that one of my friends was talking to.
Right.
Well, pulled me over, he asked to search my vehicle, and I just honestly didn't see the point.
Right.
So I asked him, got me pulled out pulled out the vehicle anyway. They ran a dog around. The dog didn't really do anything, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just kind of walked around and sniffed, and then all of a sudden just signaled.
Okay.
Well, okay, search the vehicle then.
Yeah.
Go for it. I've never seen a cop walk up to a vehicle with a crumpled up brown bag.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden find, they said they found methamphetamine in my vehicle. They could not tell me what it looked like. They could not describe it to me. And that's really what just impacted me. It took a private investigator coming out. And I'm sorry, I don't really like to think about the situation.
No, that's understandable. So take your time,
He just
okay?
asked us to pull our sleeves up and
Okay.
smile. I got this all day, you know?
Right.
And that's pretty much what it was. I was there for 4 hours from 10 o'clock to 2 in the morning.
Wow.
And that's pretty much all we really bad experience.
Did they ever make any arrests of the people in your car or you or anything like that? Okay. And what jurisdiction was this?
What do you mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. What police department?
County.
Okay.
Wayne County.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry to hear about you going
No,
through that.
that's
Okay.
perfectly fine.
Okay. I guess the question is here, having experienced something like that personally, there's going to be police testimony. Obviously, it's a criminal case. Is there anything based upon that experience or anything like that that would cause you any concern as far as being fair to both sides in this case?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, I still have a positive outlook towards police officers.
Okay. All right.
There's that one situation, just made me really uncomfortable, but all in all, I've been helped more than I've been hassled.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
You went with the black on black. That's a good look. All right. You told us about something where you had gotten arrested for loitering and then got pretrial diversion. That's a different situation from the one you're telling us about here,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay. And regardless, neither one of them are going to have anything to do with whether or not you can be fair and impartial.
Yes, sir.
And you think you can be fair to both sides?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, we're going to excuse you until October 3rd, 9 a.m. in the jury assembly room. So in the meantime, keep an open mind. Don't form conclusions about the case. Don't talk to anyone about the case or let anyone talk to you about the case, including other jurors. No contact with attorneys, parties, or witnesses to the case. I want you to create a total bubble around yourself of information-free zone about anything to do with this case. Like shellac yourself so that it's impenetrable. And anything that you can think of where you could go and get information, you're not to do that. All right. October 3rd. We'll see you then. Thank you. And juror 5. Keep going all the way down to about the second chair. One more.
Second chair.
It serves the best for the acoustics in here.
I just thought it said second mic.
Same thing.
All set, right?
Yeah.
Well, but second can be here or it can be there. Go ahead. Just go ahead, Mr. Thorne.
All right. Thank you, Judge. All right. Juror number 5, I believe we have you back for just one topic. There was a question asked if you've heard about this case somehow in either the media, through a third party, other people, things of that nature. So just starting off, just tell us what you know about the case and kind of where you've heard it, just kind of as a starting point, and then we'll follow up with some more questions.
I really don't know where I heard about it initially, but it was right after it had happened. Probably still even in breaking news stage. I do watch nightly national news, nightly local news. I'm on Facebook multiple times per day.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a news junkie that way. And then, of course, because it was in an area where I know people, there are connections. I was familiar with the church that was listed with them, obviously with the area in which it happened. So at the time when it was happening, I did read several articles about the ongoing investigation.
Okay. In reading those articles back then, let's just start with back then when it first happened. What do you remember hearing? What details do you? This will make sense eventually. But what details specifically do you remember hearing about the case?
I do remember that it was that he had driven to work. They left the baby in the car. I do know that there was some speculation that he had left his desk multiple times during the day, but had not yet discovered the baby at that point. That there was some inappropriate internet activity or some questionable activity that was happening during the day as well. That's the only part I remember specifically at that moment.
Okay. As far as the internet activity, what type of like searches or communications with other people, or do you remember exactly what it was?
At the time, I remember it just being about the effects of what happens when you leave the baby in the car. There were searches for that information, or looking for articles about how that happens, or what happens exactly that causes death, I guess.
And is your memory crystal clear about exactly what you heard or read, or is this something you're just recalling as best you can from what you heard initially?
I'm just recalling as best I can. I mean, like I said, I read it at the time, but I didn't specifically follow it after that unless it just happened to run across it.
Okay. All right. Do you remember anything? Do you remember anything about where the defendant was working at the time, or anything of that nature? The locations involved?
Other than it was down in that area where I had worked before, no, I don't remember anything specifically about that.
Okay.
The only location thing that stuck out to me was the Stonebridge Church, because my brother and sister-in-law have attended there before.
Okay. Now, your brother and sister-in-law, do they still live in Cobb County?
They do.
Okay. Do you know if they still attend church there?
I think they do. I think that church is relocated to Marion Square. If that's the same church, then yes, they still attend.
Okay. And they were not any of the names of possible witnesses we read out that list earlier. Okay. Have you spoken with them about that case, or did they talk to you about the case?
The only conversation we have had about it has been from my brother-in-law specifically, who told me several weeks ago, actually, that Mr. Rodriguez was a student of his, and that he thinks he currently has your daughter in class.
You know, I think he's probably getting mixed up with another friend of mine whose daughter has a very similar name.
That's possible. He wasn't sure, but
okay.
That's what he told me.
I think I understand what he's talking about, though. Okay. Has he ever said anything about their opinions about the case or the defendant, or anything about the defendant specifically? Have they shared anything about that?
All he said to me at the time was that they and the Harrises were not friends when that connection was first made. But no, other than that, I don't remember any opinions or even having discussed it.
All right. Kind of funny, 6 degrees of separation. Who would have thunk it, right?
Well, you all may know after you've been down here a couple of months that everybody around here is from Atlanta. So.
Yes. I went to Georgia Southern, and when I got down here, half of the tags were Cobb County.
You're from here or you're from Atlanta. There's not a whole lot in between. I'm kind of going to go that way.
Right.
Little interloper. I spent my time in Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay. Aside from that, what you heard just originally, I guess, through the news and things like that, have you heard anything over the past 2 years, kind of leading up to coming to the courthouse? Have you read anything either in local papers or on the internet, YouTube, or any type of internet sites regarding this case or the facts?
I don't remember reading anything additional about this specific case. No.
Okay. Okay, having a little bit more than a lot of people here as far as connection to Cobb County. Just to follow up, just to make sure we're on steady ground here. If you're asked to sit as a juror, you come in here with, everybody has experiences and things. Some people more, targeted than others, or more specific than others. The question is, as a juror, you would have to sit in here and deliver a verdict if you are selected as a juror based only on the evidence in here and the law that the judge gives you, not on things you've heard or relationships you have or things like that. Would you have any concern in that regard if you were selected as a juror, as being able to render a verdict based only the evidence in the law and not the relationships and things you've heard in the media or from other people?
No, actually, quite the contrary. I think one of the things I typically frustrate people with is that I do try to see both sides of the argument. It's a fun debate, I guess.
I think we've gathered that from talking to you so far. So, all right. So I just want to make sure the record's clear. So you do believe that you'd be able to put it aside and be fair and impartial to both sides, correct?
I do believe I can.
Okay. All right. I think that's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
You want to serve on this jury? I know want is probably a strong word, but I think it's a fair question.
I think it's a fair question. I think from the point of civic duty, I feel a responsibility to be honest and forthright and not to intentionally remove myself from something.
Right.
Sorry, it made me emotional. I didn't know they would. This, however, is a difficult case. I recognize that. And then from a very personal standpoint, I am self-employed. Serving on something of this magnitude with this amount of time would cause a great deal of hardship for us. We are not in a situation where we live off my husband's salary. We live off of our salary. And I don't get paid if I don't go to work. So, in that note, I'd much rather have been able to serve on something that took a day or two.
Right.
And be done. Looking at something this long, it's a little daunting to me, and especially knowing that it comes with wage and gravitas and that kind of thing. So I don't know if I can answer a yes or a no. Do I want to?
Well, you have you've answered a lot of questions, and you've answered them in a way that I think it's clear to both parties that you are attempting to provide us with sufficient information to make a decision whether or not you're going to be a right juror for this case. So to that extent, we appreciate it. That's the function of what we're doing here. You've had some exposure through the media. It's clear to us you are a person who reads a lot of news, who follows the news and gets it from different sources. As we've been in here these last 2 or 3 days, have you started to remember more of things perhaps that you have read over the last 2 years or seen?
Not really about this specific case. I did, even though I avoided specific things about this when I went home at lunch, I did scroll back through my Facebook history to look for the name of the article you had asked me about, which was actually an old article. It was called Fatal Distraction. It was in the Washington Post.
Right.
I didn't even realize at the time. I read it back in May, according to my timeline activity log or whatever that is. I did not realize at the time that it was from 2009. I saw that today in the byline when I looked at it. I have read other articles similar to that, kind of addressing both sides of this issue in terms of how or why that happens, but I don't remember that there has been anything specific about this one.
I want to make something real clear here about your last answer. Obviously, the court has given very specific instructions not to go look anything up. If I understand what you're saying, that's not what you did. What you did was look for something that I asked if you remember the name to let me know.
I did.
Okay. You didn't go looking for articles about this case.
I did not.
Okay. Just want to make that clear. All right. Other than that, fatal distraction, you answered a question affirmatively that you, aside from this particular case, you had heard you had heard media accounts of other cases where a child had been left or forgotten in a car. Okay. And any of those cases, did you particularly follow, or just simply that you read them and made note of them and are aware?
I think I would just call it awareness
Yeah.
Of it. I mean, obviously at this point, my children are older.
Right.
I'm not personally worried about whether I'm going to leave a kid in a car. You know, so it's more of a human interest thing to me. How does it happen? I'm also very intrigued sometimes by the way people respond to things. You know, you get people on either side who say, oh, that would totally happen to me, or that would never happen to me. I find that level of assuredness kind of disingenuous most of the time from both sides of any kind of topic like that. To be able to say never, I would never, or absolutely, I'm that kind of, you know, like I'm that distracted.
Yeah.
So I do tend to read a lot about those kinds of things just to understand how people get so set in one mindset versus another. So sometimes it's about a case like this. Sometimes it's about just politics in general. You know, sometimes it's about other human nature-oriented things. So.
We've asked a lot of things, and you've given a lot of answers. But I mean, at the end of the day, if we're looking for individuals who, despite what they're bringing in of their life, can just be fair and impartial to both sides, do you believe you could be that kind of juror for us?
I do believe I can.
Okay. I believe you could too. Thank you.
Further questions?
Oh, no, you're on.
I'm going to excuse you until October 3rd, 9 in the morning, for jury selection. Keep an open mind. Don't discuss this matter with anybody. Although you can tell your husband, my son said hello. And you have to absolutely preclude yourself from any exposure to anything to do with this case in any way whatsoever. Media coverage, Facebook, anything that you could imagine to find out about it is absolutely what I want you not to do. And as I say, keep an open mind. No contact with attorneys, parties, or witnesses in the case. Have a pleasant afternoon. We'll see you in several weeks. Let's see, we'll need juror 5. I'm sorry, juror 6.
Judge, I think juror 6 has been excused.
Right. But the last juror was juror 5. Okay. Just a minute. Let me get my notes caught up. Let's see, this is juror 7. Okay, you can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Long time no see. So, you know, we've just got a couple of questions to talk to you in private. Shouldn't take too long. One thing that you were asked early on was whether everybody was asked, have you heard about this case either from third parties, friends, family, media, something like that? And so we're just going to ask you, to tell us, first of all, generally what do you know about the case, and then where you heard it from, and then we'll ask some follow-up questions, okay?
Okay. Well, I originally heard about it, I think, when it first started happening through Facebook posts, and of course people were just talking about it in general. I didn't know much about it to begin with. I started hearing about the possibility of bringing it down here, and then I started hearing more details about it from people talking about how it included a child, and there was a death of a child from being left in a car and stuff like that. But I really, other
Looking back from, I guess you heard something, saw something on Facebook about it initially when it happened, then you've heard some other things. Do you even remember specifically what it was that you heard about the case back when it first may have happened?
When I first heard about it, I really just heard that there was a death of a child because they were left in the car.
Okay.
But it seems like over the last year or so, I've heard of that happening quite a few times.
So maybe it kind of blurs with other cases. This one may be different from other ones you've heard about? Okay. Do you remember any specific, other than, I know you told us that you started hearing about it coming down here and people started talking about it, are there any other details that you think you know about the case, like what was going on that day, anything about the defendant, where he worked, anything about the child? Is there anything that you have heard so far as facts?
Let me see.
Whether it's true or not, because I know those are from other sources, but...
Okay, well, I knew that apparently what had happened was he was going to work and somehow the baby was left in the car and it wasn't discovered until later. I know people were trying to say he did it on purpose. Some people were trying to say it wasn't on purpose. I know later on, right before I got called into jury duty, I started hearing about the text messages or the messages online and stuff like that. That was completely new to me. I didn't hear about that before. And I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. And the things about the text messages and things online, do you remember specifically what it was about the text messages or things online?
Just that there was like sexual messages being sent with minors.
Okay. Anything else about anything else online, internet, anything of that nature?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Now, obviously, we ask those questions for a reason. We just want to make sure when you're asked, as I talked about generally, I guess, was that 2 days ago? Yeah, I guess it was 2 days ago, or maybe yesterday, whatever it was. We don't expect jurors to come in here without any knowledge about the world or even having heard of certain things. What we have to determine is if you will be able to, if you're selected as a juror, to any of the stuff that you've heard, whether it's true or not, to be able to put that out of your head and basically, as a juror, render a verdict based solely on the evidence that comes out in this courtroom and applied to the law the judge gives. So asking you, would you be able to do that?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have any opinion whatsoever that's fixed and definite about this case that would keep you from being a juror?
No.
Okay. I think the other one may kind of tie into that. The other question, I think the defense had asked you if you had heard from family or friends about their opinions or things about the case. Have you heard anything from family members or anything of that nature?
Not like specifically. I try not to talk to family and friends about stuff like that just because it tends to cause a lot of conflict. And I try not to get involved in conflict.
Yeah. Okay. So is there anything, do you remember any of your family members saying, oh, I think he's guilty or I think he's not guilty or any of that, or talking about any other facts other than what you've told us?
Yeah.
Okay. So anything about those conversations with family members that could in any way affect your ability to be fair and impartial? Okay. Just have a second, Judge. That's all I have, Judge. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Kilgore.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, you've indicated to us that you like to avoid conflict, and you didn't want to talk about these subjects with your family because you wanted to avoid conflict. Do you think if you were on this jury that whatever your opinion was, that you could be strong in the jury room and let your opinion be known, even though there might be, conflict in the jury room? That you could stand by your opinion? Okay. All right, thank you.
Is that all y'all have?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to excuse you until October 3rd, from 9 o'clock, jury assembly room for jury selection. In the meantime, keep an open mind. Do not discuss this matter with others, including other jurors, and don't let anyone speak to you about the case. No contact with anybody involved in this case at all. And you are to create a bubble around yourself so that no information of any sort about this case gets through to you. So no Googling, no Facebook, no anything that you could think of to do. Don't do that. Just make it strictly off limits, okay? Okay. We'll see you October 3rd, 9 a.m. Thank you. We'll see you in a couple weeks. So you can meet juror 8. You can proceed for this day.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, Juror 8, welcome back. We just have to follow up on a few issues with you that we talked about. You were asked generally, so now we're just going to follow up. One is when the judge asked, you may remember she asked 3 questions right off the bat, the first of which asked about whether you had formed and expressed an opinion as to the guilt or innocence of the accused before you came in. Okay, so first of all, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to talk about that a little bit. With what we're trying to get at is people come in with opinions, things like that. You know, people may have heard things about the case. They may think things, true or not, that they've heard from outside. If you were selected as a juror, what would be expected of you is any opinion or thought that you had as you came in here with, if you formed and expressed it, is that you would be able to, as a juror, put that aside and make a decision in this case based solely upon the evidence that comes out in this courtroom, not what you may have heard outside.
Judge, I'm going to object, and that's the way we approach.
Now wait for the court reporter to get the item.
All right, as I was saying, considering all that, would you be able to put those opinions aside and render a verdict based solely on the evidence in this courtroom and the law that the judge gives you?
Honestly, I don't know that I can.
Okay? Well, explain that to me a little bit.
So it hasn't really come up in the other questioning. I was actually very close to the incident at the time that it occurred. I was still attending the University of Georgia. I did not graduate until May of 2015. So the entire summer of 2014, I was living in Athens, working in daycare. The entire school year, 2014 to 2015, I student taught in Gwinnett County. So I spent my mornings listening to Fox 5 News, driving, there's nothing else on at 5:30.
Yes, ma'am.
When it starts very early, and I had to commute from Athens every day. So I received a pretty decent amount of exposure to the incident, the coverage, a lot more than was exposed down here because I was not in this region state at the time. So just, between hearing so much coverage of it, talk at school, among the students, among the teachers, things like that, I received a great deal of exposure to this event.
Okay. So when you say you don't know if you'd be able to, let me ask you this: do you have an opinion as to whether he's guilty or not? Have you formed one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that opinion is that he is guilty or not?
Oh, you want me to answer that?
Yes.
Guilty.
Okay. Now, is that opinion that you formed, is that so fixed and definite that you would not be able to put it aside?
I'm going to object. She's answered that question. I think that's badgering her to make her answer it a second time.
Overruled.
Is it so fixed and definite that you would not be able to put it aside?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. All right. And perhaps maybe we should have asked the question about media exposure first before we got to that one. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
For the defense,
No, ma'am.
I'm going to excuse you. Come back on October the 3rd, 9 a.m. for jury selection. In the meantime, keep an open mind. Don't discuss this matter with anyone or let anyone talk to you about the case. No contact with anyone to do with the case. And no Google, no internet, no Facebook, nothing to do with this case needs to come within 100 miles of you or something similar along those lines. Just stay away from it, okay? We'll see you soon. Thank you. Let's see. Juror 9. Go down just a little bit further. One more. Perfect. There you go.
Ready, Your Honor? Okay. Good afternoon. Okay, ma'am, we just had a few questions to follow up with you in private. A couple of them are in regards to other questions that were asked early on in jury selection. Just wanted to talk to you, everybody we're talking to, that answered some of those, talking to individually. One was you were asked a question about whether you had formed and expressed an opinion about the guilt or innocence of the defendant in this case. So kind of with that in mind, I know we also asked some, there was a question about what you've heard in the media and things like that, and so those may interrelate. So first of all, I'm going to ask you, you said you have formed an opinion. Okay. And just for the record, your head's shaking, you're shaking your head, yes. Okay. And that opinion, if you're asked to be a juror, what you'd be asked to do is you're not asked to just not have any information in the world or anything like that, but to come into this courtroom as a juror, you would have to put any kind of opinion you formed or anything like that aside and make render a verdict in this case, and make a decision based solely on the evidence.
I'm objecting.
I'm listening.
This is the same type of questioning where essentially he's not asking a question, he is priming the witness by telling them what is going to be expected of them. That is what's called calling on the power of the court. Question hasn't even been asked, and he's already explaining this is what the expectations are. So this is what we expect your answer to be. I think it's wholly inappropriate. I object to it.
All right.
Your Honor, I think the last juror's evidence, the way we ask it, is very open-ended, and we get whatever answer we get.
You can ask.
So, as I was saying, you would have to render a verdict based upon only the evidence that comes out in the courtroom and the law the judge gives you, putting aside the other opinion or things you may think you know or know. Would you be able to put aside any prior opinions or anything and render a verdict based on only the evidence you hear and the law that the judge gives you in this case? Okay. So let's talk a little bit further about that, okay? What are the main concerns that you have about, or what are your opinions that would give you this pause?
Well, I already heard about it when it first started, 2 years ago. And it's just, as a parent, it just really strikes, your nerves and everything. It's just unfathomable to even something like that. And also with other issues of underage. Also, remember, I had children that age. So that is going to go through my mind all the time.
Okay, so let me ask the follow-up to that. This opinion, is that opinion so fixed and definite that you would not be able to put it aside and render a verdict based solely on the evidence in the law?
Yeah, probably, because I've read so much about it already.
Okay. All right.
I didn't hear the answer.
I've read so much about it already even before I knew about the case.
Thank you.
All right. That's all I have, Judge.
Hey, frankly, I hate to do this to you, but for the record, I need to just make it real clear. You've told us you've formed an opinion, and it's fixed and definite. And is that opinion, in fact, that he's guilty? Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm going to excuse you until October 3rd, 9 o'clock in the morning. Come back for jury selection. Keep an open mind. Don't discuss this with anyone, including fellow jurors. You walk, but I'm talking. It's okay. I'm laughing. It's when I quit laughing. It's like when a dog quits wagging their tail, you're in trouble. As long as I'm laughing, you're fine. And I'm smiling. Don't discuss this with anyone. Don't let anyone talk to you about it. No contact attorneys, parties, or witnesses. Absolutely no exposure to anything to do with this case. Facebook, Google, media, internet, whatever, newspapers, TV, radio, nothing about this case. If you listen on the radio and it comes on, change your channel. Listen to whatever music you like. Down here, there seems to be a lot of hip-hop, country, and religious. So those things seem to be readily available. And then have a very good afternoon, and we'll see you in October. October 3rd, 9 a.m. Thank you, ma'am. And I wasn't fussing at you. I was fussing near you. Yes, ma'am. Juror 10.
Judge, may we put something on the record, or may I make a request before the next juror comes in?
Sure. We'll pull the door to, and we'll wait a second for you to do so. What would that be, please?
Thank you, Judge. Judge, as to those jurors who did answer in the affirmative as to statutory question number 1, we've had a couple on this panel, and the next juror, juror 10, falls into that category. Rather than the state stand up and prime them and call on the power of the court and tell them what they want the answer to be and then ask the question, we would ask that the court address that with the jurors and call to the jurors' attention that they answer that question in the affirmative and ask what that opinion is. Once that is stated and out there, then we would question.
I don't intend to do that. I've already asked them that. I appreciate that you've asked me, but we're going to follow the normal protocol. Let's have our next juror.
ready, Your Honor?
You don't have to ask.
All right.
You're more than welcome just to go right into it.
Okay. Good afternoon. All right, long time no see. Okay, we just have a couple of issues to talk about that we want to take up individually, mostly from some general questions that were asked early on by the judge. One of the questions she asked was, and I think you raised your hand to this, was have you already formed an opinion formed and expressed an opinion as to the guilt or innocence of the accused in this case? And I think you raised your hand that you have. Okay. Kind of the follow-up now is to ask you, if you're selected as a juror, whether you come in here, everybody's going to have, people may have heard things about it, whether they're true or not. People may have opinions. What you would have to do as a juror would be able to set that aside, set what you think you know about it or what opinions you formed aside, and render a verdict just based on and only based on the evidence in this courtroom and the law that the...
Same objection, Judge.
Same ruling. You can proceed.
Thank you. You would have to render a verdict based solely on the evidence in this courtroom and the law that the judge would give. The question is, now knowing what what it means, would you be able to set those opinions aside and make a determination based solely on the evidence in the that comes out in the courtroom and the law given by the judge? Yeah. Okay. Now, that opinion that you had formed, was it opinion? What was your opinion?
When I first seen it on the news,
Mm-hmm.
I was against it. So I guess I just felt prejudged.
Okay.
Without seeing any evidence or anything.
Okay.
And I just felt like how can somebody do it?
Okay. And having prejudged that, would you be able to put that prejudgment aside and say, you know what, I'm going to sit here and listen to the evidence? Having not heard any evidence or anything like that, would you be able to do that? Yeah. Okay. I know you've heard something about the case from either the media, family, something like that, and I know different people have heard about it in different ways. Tell me a little bit, how did you hear about the case?
I've seen it on Facebook, and then after I've seen it, I read through the article on Facebook, and then after I've seen it posted on Facebook, I've seen it on the news.
Okay. And was this recently, or was this back when it happened a couple years ago? Okay. And if you could just tell us, what were the facts that, as far as you remember back then, what do you remember hearing about the case? What do you think you know about it from the media or wherever, from Facebook?
That he went to work, and he was supposed to, he forgot that he had the baby in the car, and he went to work and went to social and left the baby in the car. That was all.
Okay. And do you remember any other details about what he was doing that day, where he worked, where he had gone, anything of that nature? Okay. Any other facts that you can remember about the case whatsoever other than he went to work and left his child in the car and then found him at the end, or however the baby was found at the end of the day?
It wasn't a story that I actually followed up on. I just seen it on the news that time and on Facebook and read the article that one time.
Okay. Now, I think you also stated that your family members or friends may have expressed opinions about the case or said some stuff about the case. Okay, tell me a little about that. You don't have to, dime people out and tell who it was, but what did family members tell you, or what opinions were shared with you?
The family member was the one who posted it.
Oh, okay. All right.
And she expressed her opinion.
Okay. And what was her opinion? Well, if you don't say it now, the defense is going to ask you. So, go ahead and tell us what.
Pretty much like he needs to run.
Okay, and so again, that opinion from this was it a family member?
Yes.
Okay, would you take that into consideration if you were selected as a juror? Would you be able to put that aside? Just a second, Your Honor. Nothing else, Judge.
For the defense.
Okay, so one of your family members posted something on Facebook, and you said that, to the best of your recollection, what was posted was that someone forgot their baby in the car, and the baby died. Okay, and you don't recall any of the details? Okay. You said you did not follow the story, but you do remember that this was back when it first happened 2 years ago? Okay. Does that seem about right? About 2 years ago? Okay. And the family member, who was that? Was your mom? Okay. And basically she, when she posted this, she said he needs to rot in, I didn't hear if you said jail or hell. In jail. Okay. And have you and your mom discussed this case over the last 2 years at all? Hmm? Okay. And does she know that you've been selected to be questioned to be on this? Oh, she doesn't know. Okay. Are you, okay. And when we questioned you earlier, you indicated that this wasn't the only story, that this wasn't the only account or story of a child left in a car that you've heard. You've heard other stories? Do you remember when that was? Okay. Okay. Did you follow that case at all? All right. All right. What about since then? Have you heard any accounts since then, since you've been living in Georgia? No? Okay. All right, I want to clarify the answer that you gave regarding whether you've formed and expressed an opinion. The judge asked you that yesterday. You raised your hand, indicated that you had, and then Mr. Boring asked you about that, and I'm not real clear if I understood what your opinion was. When the judge asked you, have you formed and expressed an opinion, regarding this case, what?
I was against it at first. I prejudged him.
Okay.
I don't know the evidence. I haven't heard anything about the case except what was said on the news and what was on Facebook in the article. But I did prejudge, and I put in this video. You should.
All right. You sort of trailed off at the end there. I'm sorry. I know the court reporter had difficulty hearing you, and I heard he's guilty. What was the complete sentence? Your opinion is that he's guilty. Right? Your opinion right now is that he's guilty.
No, I'm saying that I had prejudged him. I had when I first seen the article.
Okay.
I prejudged. I didn't see the evidence or anything like that. But when I had performed then was that I felt that he was that I felt like God had somebody to
Okay. All right. So what you're telling us is that was your opinion. That was your initial reaction.
Right.
When you first heard about it, you immediately had an opinion that he's guilty. How could somebody do that?
Right.
And what you're telling us now is that's not necessarily your opinion anymore.
I feel like now, as I was
why I'm like, why I really didn't see the evidence. I don't know the details of the case. I don't know what he was doing at the time, you know. So I'm more open.
You're more open now.
Right.
Okay. So the fact that you you shared with us honestly that you had that opinion, so we're all clear. You're saying that's not your opinion now.
Right.
You're open to consider the evidence for both sides. Okay. So you think you can be a fair and impartial juror?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to excuse you. I want you back here October 3rd, 9 a.m., jury assembly room. Keep an open mind. Don't discuss this matter with anyone else, including other jurors. Don't let anyone speak to you about the case. No contact with attorneys, witnesses, parties to the case. And I want you to create an impenetrable barrier between you and anything to do with this case. Facebook, Google, internet searches, family and friends, absolutely, media, radio, whatever. You are to let nothing come across your radar screen that has anything to do with this case, okay? I'll excuse you. See you on October 3rd, 9 a.m. Mr. Chestnut, I'll look you at. And he'll bring the next juror, which is going to be juror 11. No. Yeah, it is juror 11.
And Judge, this is a juror who actually
Has surgery.
we may be able to address it. Just ask questions about that first.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. You provided me with a tissue in case I start sobbing, or you heard me coughing.
I think we've had people coughing and sneezing and such.
Okay.
Maybe you've heard me coughing throughout this, and it's annoyed you too.
I want some more coffee.
Okay.
At lunchtime.
Right. Okay. Juror 11, we brought you back to discuss a couple of issues. First thing to take up, I know you talked about a couple of things that you have coming up as far as medical appointments.
Yes.
Okay. So the first date was the 26th and 27th of September, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so if we can accommodate you going to those appointments, would that basically do away with any conflict as far as September?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the 10th, October 10th and October 11th, I believe you stated that the appointments and the follow-up on those days are partial days?
Well, no.
Okay.
They do the left eye on the 26th, and then the 27th is the the post-op procedures.
Okay.
Then on the 10th, they do the right eye.
Okay.
And the 11th then is the post-op procedures on that eye. Then I should be able to see all of you.
Okay. Up until that point, can you still see us to some degree?
Not well.
It's probably good for you in my case.
Yeah, I was going to say, if any of you were on the lineup.
Okay. All right. The procedure on the 10th, up until that point, if you have exhibits and things like that, are you going to be able to see them in court?
I believe so.
Okay. Now,
Can they, if I request that they be brought closer? Is that?
we can take that up. We can
Okay.
figure that out. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not blind. I just,
yes.
Everything's kind of blurry.
Okay. And you said...
Someday you're going to have to deal with this.
Did you see the first day when I realized I didn't have my glasses? It's already taken place here. So, and you seem like you wouldn't have a problem anyway. You don't have a problem telling us if you can't see something.
Correct.
Okay. Now, going to your appointment on the 10th and then the 11th.
Yes.
Your doctor's appointment on the 10th, do you have a time set yet?
No, actually, there's the day set, but the surgery center calls me for the time.
Okay.
They do several a day, and I get in a particular slot.
Okay.
And they call me the Friday before.
Okay. If you were, if you had an appointment that day after the actual surgery, let's say, just hypothetically, I hate to throw hypotheticals out, but let's say it's like 9 a.m. How long is the surgery? And then just after the surgery, would you be able to come in later that day?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not from what they've told me.
Okay. So that would be, I guess, a full day.
I have the eye is covered. I am under, I have anesthesia. I cannot drive.
Okay. All right. And the next day,
I could come in partial day.
partial day. So it'd be about a day and a half.
Yes.
Okay. Judge, I'll reserve on that and see if Mr. Kilgore has any questions in that regard.
I don't. I think it's covered. What we need to know.
Do you all want to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, why don't you talk to each other and see if you agree on that? That's what you did in the past.
I think it's a medical excuse. I don't think we can afford to lose a day. And I don't think we can afford to lose it. Oops, sorry.
Let's do this.
We're going to agree.
So, do you want
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, good luck with your surgeries. If you'll step through the door, Mr. Sharon's going to give you your next directions.
Okay.
Thank you very, very much. And we'll need a minute, Mr. Chestnut, we'll need a minute before you bring the next juror. All right, let's build the record.
Your Honor, I think Mr. Kilgore and I have reached an agreement after having the juror tell us exactly how long she was going to be out. At a minimum, it's going to be a day and a half, and I'm kind of hesitant as to whether it may be more. And I don't think at this point it would be wise to waste a day and a half for when we have several jurors we could question.
No, I think probably it might be 2 days, but it wouldn't be more than that. But I agree with that, that we need to spend every minute we can on this trial. Mr. Kilgore, was that your opinion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I've had her excused for medical cause. We can have juror 12. Are we going to do what we did the first time? After we go through 12, y'all confer?
That would be the state's preference.
Think about it and see if you agree. Come on in, come all the way down, and you have that second to the end seat. Hope you had a good lunch and we're ready to pick back up. Or we will be.
Good afternoon. Okay. I think we've got 2 issues to talk to you about, and they kind of relate to the same thing. Everybody was asked early on if you've heard about the case, either from the news or family or things like that. And you raised your hand that you've heard something about this case. So first off, if you could just tell us where you heard about the case, and as far as you can remember, what you know about it, just generally, and then we'll ask you some follow-up questions.
My boyfriend's mom came in and was talking to him, and I overheard. It's not, I don't know if it's the story, but it was kind of the story / her opinion is what it was.
Okay. And when was this?
Yesterday. When the day before?
Monday?
Monday's confused. Monday afternoon, yeah.
Okay. Was that the first day you showed up here?
Yes.
Okay. And before that, had you ever heard of this case?
No.
Okay. When you heard about it, what do you remember her saying about it?
I can tell you her exact words, I guess.
Sure, you go ahead.
Her exact words were, I I don't see how anybody can leave their child in the car for 7 hours.
Okay. Now, other than that, did you hear any more details from her about the facts?
No, that's the only thing. It was her opinion.
Okay. Do you sometimes disagree with your boyfriend's mom? I'm sorry, it's on the record, but okay. And now, having heard her make this statement, are there any other facts that you know about this case from any source?
No.
Okay. Is there any effect that her saying that, would that have any effect on your ability to be a juror in this case and be fair and impartial to both sides?
No.
Okay. Would you in any way take her opinion into the jury room and think, hey, you know, okay. And when you raise your hand saying, when Mr. Kilgore, I think, asked you, have any family members or friends that expressed an opinion, is that what you were talking about? Second, Your Honor. That's all I have, Judge.
From the defense?
Well, this might be a little delicate, but you've told us who you heard this opinion from, but obviously we don't know her or know anything about her, so don't tell me her name.
Okay.
But who is she?
She is a relative.
Uh-huh.
Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
She's a,
Here in St. Simon's area?
she lives in Brunswick.
Okay.
She's divorced. She's a single mom.
Okay.
And she only has one son.
Okay. And do you live in her house?
I stay there more days out of the week.
Okay. You're a partial resident of her house. Okay. And I mean, does she have some or any influence on what you do and where you go? And no, you pay rent there? You don't pay rent there, do you? Okay. And did you, or rather, do you know at the time that she was saying this? Did she know that you were going to be possibly questioned about being a juror in the case?
She knew I had jury duty.
Mm-hmm.
For what case, she did not know. I guess she had just heard this on the news and just came in talking to me and her son and just randomly blurted it out.
Okay.
I had no feedback on it. I just shook my head.
Okay. All right, and best of your recollection, that's the only time that you've ever heard anybody express an opinion on the case?
Yes.
Okay, and you would have been living, I guess, in this area in the summer of 2014, so you weren't living in Atlanta to be exposed to whatever was on TV there. And you don't remember seeing any posts on Facebook or anything like that?
Not that I can remember.
Okay. When you saw Mr. Harris when you came in the courtroom, was that the first time you'd ever seen him, or had you ever seen him on TV
No, I haven't seen it.
or in the newspaper?
I don't really watch the news or the newspaper.
Okay. You get most of your news from social media?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything that we have not asked you about that you think you should tell us that would have any bearing on whether or not you could be a fair and impartial juror for this particular case? No? Okay. But you think you could be a fair and impartial juror? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Next day we'll see you, October 3rd, 9 a.m. jury assembly room for jury selection. Keep it open mind. Do not discuss this matter with anyone else or other jurors, and don't let anyone discuss it with you whatsoever. And if they start talking about it, leave the room. Do la 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 la. I can't hear that. No contact with attorneys, parties, or witnesses to the case, and likewise with any other source of information, radio, TV, Google, Facebook, anything else you could even conceivably think of. Don't do that. Stay neutral and go into a zone where you have no exposure to this case whatsoever. We'll see you October 3rd, 9 a.m. Thank you all.
Panel two's what they're ready to go when you are.
We're not,
Very good.
but we will be.
Thank you.
It's simply a matter of time. All right. What we've done in the past that I thought was effective and efficient was take recess, let you all discuss and see if you got agreement or disagreement on out of this group on cause, and if there are challenges, take them now and hear the argument, make rulings. Does the state agree or not?
Yes, Judge, the state agrees.
What does the defense say?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Let's recess till, I want to give you all a break too, because when we go into panel, we're going to go into the second 12 of this first panel, so we'll be doing 13 to 24 this afternoon, and when we go into them, I want to keep working until it's around 5. So I want y'all to have your afternoon break as well. Do you think you could be ready to go at about a quarter till?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, I think y'all should be able to confer and maybe have agreements and disagreements in about 5 or so minutes. That's just my humble opinion. And then you can take a little break. All right. We'll be in recess until a quarter till.